Okay, I think we'll get started. Thanks for your patience while we overcame some technical hurdles. So, welcome everyone that's in the room and off in Zoom land. First of all, to acknowledge the Indigenous lands that we're currently holding the meeting on, RASC Halifax Center acknowledges that we are in Mi'kmaq, an unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship, which Mi'kmaq and Maliseet peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties didn't deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between these nations. Next. In theory. Just to emphasize that the RASC and RASC Halifax Center believe in and practice inclusivity and diversity. All are welcomed regardless of age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy, maternity, race, ethnic origin, color, nationality, national origin, religion or belief, or sex and sexual orientation. We are opposed to all forms of unlawful and unfair discrimination. Next. So today's program is up on the screen. After the welcome, which we already went through, I'll present a photo montage, and then Tim Doucette will give our feature presentation titled Hawaii Stars in His Eyes. We'll then have a 15-minute social break, followed by members' presentations, Food for the Soul by Paul Heath. I'll present What's Up in November Skies, and then Pat Kelly will give us news from the board. So we'll move into the photo montage. Okay, so October was a little bit better than September in terms of skies. So we have a few nice images to share. Next. First up is Jerry Black's image of nebulosity in the constellation Cygnus. And I think that's the butterfly nebula, right, Jerry? He looks like a butterfly to me. Okay, next one. What?
The names, the two bright stars.
Saturn is down here.
Down to the right, so the lower right.
What Saturn?
No, I'm asking the stars that you said that Cygnus constellation. I mean, which of the bright stars is the normal?
The bright stars aren't there right now.
So it's
Saturn is down here.
oh,
right.
It's purposely off screen.
Yeah, yeah. I can tell you it's hard to process if you got Saturn on there. Okay, next one, please, Jerry. And Jerry was able to get this image of the annular solar eclipse on October 14th from Sackville. I couldn't see anything from Clayton Park. You just had clouds. Next one, please. Michael Bochat's been branching out. These are images of Jupiter and Saturn, once again captured from his apartment window using his 75mm refractor and mono astro camera. Next, please. And Michael also took this image of the Copernicus crater, again with his MC120 mono camera. Next, please. And Michael got this nice image of the annular solar eclipse. It's a couple sunspots, very prominent. Next, please. And this is the screen's not doing it justice, but this was a really pretty picture, I thought, of the morning moon. So this was daylight, 10:45 a.m. And Michael got this nice high resolution image of the moon on October 6th. And David Chapman snapped this image of the annular solar eclipse on the 14th. So a few clouds, through the clouds.
iPhone.
It does look neat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next,
all
please.
of my artistic friends love it.
And this is another nice one. David captured this image of the crescent moon, Regulus and Venus.
And Algebra.
Yes, just up there. Yeah. Next, please. Jason Dane was, I think, in Cape Breton, and he grabbed this shot in the morning of the belt of Venus. Jason also took a shot of the annular solar eclipse, so it was fairly clear in Tantalum. Next, please. And a early Orionid meteor captured on October 19th by Jason.
Does he know which satellite that was?
And a satellite, but I don't think he knows. No. Tim Doucette captured the annular solar eclipse on the 14th, I believe, with a smartphone camera. Next, please. And Lisa Ann Fanning took this shot of the moon with a bird of unknown species flying across it. She noted that this is on the 28th, and she noted that I think they counted 30 birds at different times flying over the moon or across the face of the moon. Pretty cool. Next, please. I took this image of a 22-degree halo around the sun, just outside of Halifax. Thought it was kind of neat. Next, please. And the waning gibbous moon on October 4th. This is the moon and the seven sisters on October 10th, I think. Next, please. And on the 28th, the moon was close to Jupiter. It was not a very strong laser pointer. So there's Jupiter and the moon. And I took that with a DSLR, and then I used a telescope to get the larger images that I put as insets. Next, please. Blair McDonald's been testing some modifications on his mount, I believe, and this is the double cluster in Perseus, again captured from Bedford. Next, please. And Messier 33 in Triangulo, also an urban image. Next, please. Tom McIntyre. I'm jealous. Tom has both the Dwarf 2 and the Sea Star S50. So he's been playing with the Sea Star this month. These are images of the sun and moon taken on the October 3rd. So lots of detail. Looks really nice. The sunspots.
I thought the sun was bigger than
Not from the peanut gallery. Next one. Yeah. And again, with the Sea Star, the Orion Nebula and the Helix Nebula. And next. And
Just
lastly,
to comment, I mean, I've heard you guys have been talking
Yeah.
about the two. What's the difference between the dwarf and this?
Sea Star has a longer focal length and twice the aperture. So in theory, it should do better. In practice, with the upcoming new software for the Dwarf, which allows 1x1 binning, the two are pretty close together. So it's really just size of the image. So Cygnus Wall and M33, again by the Sea Star. And this is our last shot. It taken by Mary Lou Whitehorn. And we see the moon over Yucnas Mountain. I believe that's it for photo montage.
You didn't have Paul's view.
No, I didn't see that. Okay, so now we have Paul's going to give food for the soul.
Well, this will probably make more sense after Tim's talk. But it's sort of a tribute to his journey. Mountain. It stands tall before us, its peak a glimmering shard of light that beckons from the darkness. From the valley's depths, light bespeckles the sky as wonder fills the questing soul. With focused glass, we begin our climb, seeking wonders with a questing mind. First steps to terraces wide, we pause, with widened eyes to learn the majesty of the skies. In confidence, we climb again. Questing minds on high terraces have us joined. To wonders of the firmament are shown. Then to the summit we are drawn, ascending to a vista stretched beyond our mind. With arms outstretched, the widened glass we grasp. Then within our minds, a peace, the glimmering shard of light hold fast. That's sort of a tribute to your, where you started to where you got to.
Oh. Yeah, explain the photo.
I asked
Judy.
Judy. I asked Judy if she can get a picture of sunrise on Mauna Kea, because the shard was the light of knowledge on the peak of the mountain. So
You don't know the location?
no, I just asked her. I said that would be like sort of would fit with the poem, a photo of the sunrise on Mauna Kea.
So the sun's behind us?
I'm not sure. She found the picture, so
She could not guarantee it was sunrise versus sunset.
Yeah, the trees are kind of shadowed, so.
It looks like it's a picture of a place called Hilo, because it's so green.
That's what I was gonna say.
And Hilo is on the eastern side of the island, and it's because of the rainfall, it's very wet,
Yeah,
as opposed to the opposite side of the mountain, which is very dry.
all the pictures I could find were from the
Yeah,
observatory of the sun rising on the ocean. I wanted a picture the other way around, but
Yeah, it's hard to see, you can't see the shadows.
yeah,
Two little glints right on the peak.
but that's,
Yeah.
I guess those are the telescopes
Yeah.
on top.
Okay, we'll move on then and do members' presentations. So I know Dave Chapman wanted to read.
My turn already?
Yeah, I'll just quickly
Okay.
mention a couple things. First of all, the 2024 edition of the Night Sky Almanac is out by it's a nice month-by-month guide of our North American skies by Nicole Mortellaro. So great book, very cool. I buy it every year, helps with the putting together the what's up. And I don't know if people are aware of this. If you're talking dedicated astro cameras, most people think of ZWO or QHY, but there's a new company in town, I guess a new player in town. It's called Player One, and they make really nice products. This is it's a mono solar camera that I bought to take full disc images of the sun with a solar scope. Solid, passive cooling, which is nice for solar imaging. And they now have a wide range of different cameras available, cooled and uncooled. So I think they're going to give ZWO a run for their money. What ZWO has in their favor is their ecosystem. So if you have an ASI Air, you have to use ZWO products. But if you don't have an ASI Air and you're looking for astro cameras, have a look at the Player One offerings. I think they're pretty good.
Where are they available from?
Astronomy Plus in Montreal carries them. I think Ontario Telescope, David Astro in Montreal. So they're fairly widely available. And very competitive. Price wise, they're actually a little bit less expensive than the ZWO offers.
Should I read this into the camera?
Yeah.
Could I look into the camera?
If you would.
Okay, because I don't have a
Yeah.
presentation. Hello, everybody. For those new and out there new. David Chapman, I'm a longtime member of the RASC. And I propose today to read from the book I co-authored with my First Nation co-author, Kathy LeBlanc. So this book has been out for about a year. In fact, a year ago today, we had a book launch event at Mount St. Vincent, which was quite the event. And so it's been out for about a year, and we've sold, well, I'm not exactly sure, more than 4,000 copies have been printed and distributed. And it's recently nominated for Forrester Reading White Cedar category award, which is for young children nonfiction. So the book is called Mi'kmaq Moons, and it really is an all ages book from the perspective of the authors. And it's the culmination of about 10 years of work on and off. We didn't set out to write a book. If we had set out to write a book, I don't think it would have taken us 10 years, but it sort of came along at that time of the project. And basically, we have been studying the names of the moons in Mi'kmaq and the meanings of the names and the cycle, and relating them where it's possible to the astronomy, the astronomical foundations of those things. And fundamentally, the names of the moons follow the cycle of the seasons and what's going on in nature. So there's a very fundamental astronomical reason for the seasons, and so that's the basis of it. But there's some interesting nuances that come to light. And last month I read the story that was for the current moon cycle, which is called Wigewigus, or the animal fattening time. And I'm going to jump over, because what I'd like to do today is read another story which relates to the wintertime moon, or chief moon, which is coming up, the one after next. And the reason I want to read that story is because it has a fair bit of astronomy in it. So the way the book is constructed is that fundamentally there's 12 stories, which are conversations between Auntie and Holly. Auntie is essentially Kathy talking to her niece Holly. Holly is a real person, and some of the content of the book comes from actual conversations. But to fill out the book, we had to make up a few. So it's nonfiction, but we had to write some stories, based strongly in fact. I don't know what you call that, but so the stories are written for an senior elementary student level, like grade 6, but it would be suitable because of the lovely artwork by Loretta Gould, of course. So why did I have to look? So every story, it takes up a page, and then the facing page has a lovely illustration by Loretta Gould. So it's a very appropriate book to read to a young child, because they can look at the picture as you tell them the story. And I would say that because the content is not familiar to most adults, it's new material. The book is also suitable for adults to read, because it's not like some kids' books where the adults already know what it's about and the information in it. This is a kind of book where you might not know, even if you're Mi'kmaq, you might not know the content of this book. So Kathy and I think of it as an all ages book, although it's been sort of pigeonholed as a young adult's nonfiction. So what I'd like to do today is to read the story about Gijigus, which is the chief moon. The alternate name is Gezigewigus, which is simply winter moon. So it's lots of times in in this domain, you see alternate names for things. Okay, so I'm going to read the story. So I think I can't remember. We'll find out maybe from David later when the full moon will be, although it might be November's full moon we find out about. So here's one of the stories. I'll read it to you. Just before the school holidays in December, Holly complained, "Auntie, it's so cold and so dark this time of year. But did you see the full moon last night? It's so high and bright. Yes, Holly, when the moon is full, it always does the opposite of the sun. In winter, the sun is low in the sky, and the days are short and the nights are long. But the full moon, this full moon, is the highest in the whole year, and it spends more time in the sky than any other full moon. Sometimes we call this moon Gijikus, the chief moon or great moon. Ah, so this chief moon must be around the time of winter solstice on December 21st, asked Holly. Such a bright kid. Yes, exactly. The nights are very long, but the full moon rises high in the sky and lights the ground. Mi'kmaq used to hunt moose in winter by night. The deep snow slowed down the moose, and the Mi'kmaq would chase them on snowshoes with dogs. After the hunt, they would pull the moose back to their wigwams using toboggans. The Mi'kmaq respect the moose and all living things. In traditional culture, they took only what they needed, and they used all parts of the moose, including the hide, the meat, the fat, and the bones. Nothing was wasted. Even the skin and fur from the legs were removed in one piece and made into moccasins. Nowadays, in order to be safe, no one hunts at night, and moose can only be hunted in special areas in Nova Scotia. So there's a nice example of one of the stories where we blended astronomical Western knowledge with traditional ways and traditional knowledge and customs. Now, there's a few words in there I'd like to talk about. The words wigwam and toboggan are based on Mi'kmaq words, wigwam and toboggan. And the word moccasin comes from the Mi'kmaq word moccasin. So all of those words that I use, toboggan, what did I say? Toboggan, wigwam, and moccasin, those are all Mi'kmaq words which have entered our, at least Canadian English language. So there's another example of some cultural crossover. Anyhow, thank you for the opportunity to read. And as always, I have signed copies of the book for anyone who wants to buy one, but I think just about everybody in this room probably already has. But if anyone out there in YouTube land or Zoom land wants one, you can contact me. I should be easy to find, and I can arrange to get you a copy. Okay, thank you.
Let's go. Oh, okay. All right. Tim's surmounted his technical difficulties. So without further ado, Tim Doucette.
So thank you very much. My name is Tim Doucette. I'm the owner operator of the Deep Sky Observatory and also the president of the Starlight Development Society of Southwest Nova Scotia. I recently had quite a remarkable experience, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So, how did this adventure all start? Well, about a year ago, I was contacted by a company called Bellefeuille Production from Moncton. It's a film company, and they wanted to do a documentary on me and the Deep Sky Observatory. The documentary was scheduled to be filmed for AMI TV, Accessibility and Media Incorporated, and it's produced, and for those who are visually impaired or hearing impaired, it's a TV broadcast that goes across the country. So we started filming the documentary. I was kind of skeptical. I was like, well, okay, I had done a bunch of interviews that year, and I was kind of hesitant, but I agreed to it, especially after they told me it was it was more involved than the usual sort of 1 week interviews that I was used to doing. So this time, the first part of the filming started it was actually during the summer. Melanie, who's the producer of the film and writer, she came to the observatory and spent the night in the Sky Bubble tent to get to kind of know me and what we're doing and that sort of thing. But in September, we went to Fundy National Park to start the filming. And I got a chance to meet some of my old astronomy buddies out there in Fundy for the Fundy Stargaze last year. It was pretty awesome. The next thing, we ended up at So I spent a couple of days there, and then the next day we went to the Moncton Observatory. That's where I met most of my RASC friends. That's where we kind of hooked up at a public observing night. And of course, as the week went on, we came back to Deep Sky Eye and did a bunch of filming at the observatory and locations in our area. It was quite interesting because they had the full moon. We had the full moon to work with one night, or not quite full, but pretty close. But as you can see, boy, that moon is really bright. They actually had these incredible lights, spotlight things that to light up the trees to make it look like it was the moon that was lighting up. And it was really neat because in the documentary, that's exactly what it looked like. They were really good at what they did. I was helping them set up. I had a telescope. I hooked up their cameras to the telescope so they could take pictures. You'll see that in a few spots. Another day, we went to the Shag Harbor UFO Museum because it's one of those things that's in our community, and it's gained quite significant popularity over the last couple of years. So we did some filming there. Amanda, of course, was part of the filming, which was pretty awesome because she didn't really want to be on camera at all, but she agreed to it, and her and her chickens got a chance to be on in the production. We got to know the film crew very well, and we actually invited them, and they came to have dinner with us for Thanksgiving, and they were pretty, excited about that, considering normally they just have to go do their own thing. So being, Maritimers, we always have that hospitality anyway. And it was pretty good. We had some solar viewing, and I wish I had the video, but I have one video of these guys actually taking with the big refractor, and they were pretending that it was the Death Star moving in front of cloud, coming in. It was like do. They were showing that. It was pretty fun. They were having a good time with it. They filmed a session of the stargazing experience in French. We had a group from the St. Anne's University come down. We did a night of filming for that. Made our way to Yarmouth, and we had a great time climbing the top. If you don't know, in Yarmouth now, you can actually go to the top of the lighthouse as part of a tourist experience. It's actually pretty awesome. I'm not really claustrophobic, but some people get claustrophobic. Like Melanie, she couldn't actually go up the stairs because she just said, "Oh no, it's too confined." But up there, it's a beautiful view, and you can take pictures, and it's interesting. You wouldn't think that being up that high, you'd think that you wouldn't be able to kind of see as much, I guess, but we could actually see quite a bit. And the other thing too, it was really, really windy and hot. So that thing's actually moving, like it's swaying, and you're like, whoa. It's quite interesting. We filmed this session. One of the projects that we're doing in Southwest Nova is called Counting Stars. And I've been promoting that over the last week because we're kind of getting close to our deadline. But it's a cool little project where students would build this little picture frame. You've probably seen this before. And they go outside and they pick a few spots in the sky and count it. So the students at Echo Belleville had a chance to be on TV a little bit, and we filmed that. And of course, I even went to my eye doctor, and they filmed me having an eye exam. Worst part about that, they did it twice because the doctor wanted to do one with a mask and one without a mask, just in case, when the production comes out, if COVID was still around, that, he would be sort of not showing irresponsibility by not having a mask. So anyway, I got blinded twice, and I said to him, "Hey, since I came here twice, I don't have to see you for like 2 years, right?" They had fun with this. We had a lot of fun with this. They were showing a little show of my T-shirt collection, and it's part of the video. It's actually quite funny. We had a lot of fun with that. Of course, they filmed me in my office. Pretty much, they followed me around. It's kind of like almost like they had their own script kind of thing that they wanted to do, and then kind of gave them some ideas. We made our way to Toronto. And that's where Amanda and I actually met. So it's kind of a little bit of a romantic getaway as well. And we made our way there to the CN Tower. They took us all around the different areas in Toronto. And of course, we made it to the National Center at the RASC, where we did an interview with Dr. Ralph Chu. He's in the video as well. And of course, a bunch of our RASC members that were there. So it was quite involved. So all of this we ended up around the middle of November. And I went and had lunch with the owners of the film company. And we were having a discussion that they wanted to meet me in person and you know, thank me for everything. And so we were sitting down in the restaurant, and we started talking and just going on. And, you know, of course, we're speaking French, and, you know, parle français, on parle tout français, là. They were they mentioned something about Hawaii. And I said, yeah, my wife and I celebrated 25 years last year. And one of the things on my bucket list has been to visit the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope, because when I was growing up, it was sort of started the year I was born. And as I was growing up, the CFHT was sort of always in the news. It was, of course, the 1970s, at the time, was the largest optical telescope in the world with a 3.6 meter mirror. So anyhow, they were, and we were just kind of talking, and I wasn't really expecting anything to come out of it or anything like that at all. And I also kind of mentioned the idea. I said, wouldn't it be fun to have a TV series where, you know, you go and visit the telescopes of the world and talk about all this, you know, all the history and everything about it. So anyways, the next day, so this was like on a Friday, and basically on Monday, I get a thank you from Melanie. She sends me a message thanking me for all the stuff that we've done. And they said they want to send you to Hawaii. And I said, yeah, come on, you're kidding, right? And I contacted, they were serious. They said, no, we want to go to the CFHT. And I'm like, okay, I've got some RASC members who knows a little bit about who to poll about this information. So we contacted the director of the facility after going through Judy Black and a few others from RASC. And well, in the end, we had a meeting with them, a Zoom meeting in November. It was early November. And they were all keen on it. They were just excited. They wanted us to come up. They had all kinds of questions about, you know, because they had looked at all my stuff on my websites and all that. And they were really accommodating, even asking me questions about my eyesight and what they could do to help me if I needed any help, you know, all that sort of thing. And if I wanted to do any kind of special requests. So of course I had a whole bunch of special requests because I really didn't think it was going to happen. But in April, I had a bit of gear to pack. I had two cameras, backup camera, a drone, a 360 camera, all kinds of gear. And somehow I managed to fit it in this little suitcase that actually came with me on the plane. Because I wasn't going to miss a second of it. So of course, 13 hours on the plane, leaving one day, the next day you're getting kind of tired, but eventually we got there and we were very, very tired. But we arrived on the 13th and pretty much got off the plane. And it was really interesting. It was nice. It was warm. It was pretty hot, but it wasn't like super hot. But it was cloudy. So we landed, we were staying in, so we were in Kona, and we were staying in Waima, which is where the control center of the telescope is. So that's where we ended up. Now, we really took advantage of it. We were only supposed to be there for 6 days with the film crew, but Amanda and I stayed for another 2 weeks since we were already there. So we had a lot of fun. So we stayed in Waima. Day one, of course, it's relaxing. We had the opportunity to dip our feet in the Pacific Ocean, and something my wife and I kind of have one of those things to do. when we first get to a place where we can find a beach. And water was, I would say it's probably about, I don't remember what the temperature was, but it was kind of cool. It wasn't super, super hot like it would be in Cuba, at least not at that time where we were, at least for that day. So we stayed in Kailua Kona, which is on the west side of the island. And this is sort of the drier side, as Dave was mentioning. The drier side of the island, lots of lava rocks. You can see that some of the earth has been scorched quite a bit by lava over the years. There was a recent eruption a few years ago where some of the remnants are still there. And of course, I spent a little bit more time at the beach and just hanging around, trying to find a few different things. I was playing around with my new 360 camera, trying to figure it all out. Had a lot of fun with it. So, day one in April, it's time to get to work. We were all relaxed. And so first thing we did was they took us to another beach, which was fun. I was okay with that, totally. But they were doing all kinds of crazy filming, me sitting on a rock, me walking down the beach with a suitcase. Yeah, time to go to Mauna Kea, you know. So it was a lot of fun with them. And the film crew that's like that, it makes a totally different experience from some of the people I've dealt with. And of course, that same day after they were all ready, we headed over, which was only like 10 minutes from where we were, to the Canada Francois Telescope's CFHT control center. So the control center is off the mountain, and it's actually, they run a fiber optic cable from the control center to the observatory, 14,000 feet on the mountain, to make sure that they have internet all the time. Inside of the area where they are, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's it's one of those places where, geez, I'd love to work there. They got a beautiful garden area where you can go and sit. So in the control center, when you walk in, it's just, of course, computers, pictures. I was looking to see for a game console, but I didn't see one. But they do watch a lot of movies, especially in the wintertime. So the folks that are that stay there, the remote observers, they're called. They're the ones that control the telescopes and just make sure everything is working. They sit there even though it's cloudy, so they have nothing to do. They were having a problem with the telescope. The tool that's used to change the camera on the telescope was broken. And we were like, oh no, no, you can't tell me this. I'm here for 3 weeks, fix it. So anyhow, they did fix it, luckily. And so this is kind of a little prelude to what we were doing and how things were going. So Nadine Doucette was the resident astronomer. She's from Quebec. And she took us on a tour around the facility. Lots of offices, but it's all like open air. That's what I find great about these tropical places. It's just, not too many enclosed areas. It's really nice. We got a chance to talk about some of the photos that they've taken, some of the research that's been done. One of the really cool pictures that I found that was on the wall, and I'll see if I can find it here. And you've probably seen it already, but it's pretty cool. Let's see if she's got it here. Don't think I can fast forward. A lot of people like to work there too. I'd be biking, definitely. So I think it's the next photograph here. But no, she was very accommodating. Right here. So this photograph, that's the moon over there, and that triangle at the top is a shadow from the summit of Mauna Kea casting into the clouds. So it was quite a neat little photograph, I thought. Yeah, no, we did that already. So I spent probably about in total about 3 hours, 4 hours with the resident astronomer, with the remote observer. Her name was Helen. And she showed me around around the thing. To me, 90% of it was so familiar. I was like, can we do this? Can we do that? But I got a chance to add, they've added the program. I was given, I don't know, 5-10 minutes on the telescope. So we set up a program to program the telescope to do some imaging for the following night. And I'll show you in a bit what we decided. And one thing that's interesting down there too is, like I was saying, people end up having to stay at the telescope area, even though it's cloudy. So they sometimes get kind of bored. I would be not bored. I would be like doing stuff all the time, processing images, doing all that stuff, but that's not their role. The telescopes are basically set. They're there to monitor and make sure that everything is working. And there's different steps you have to take. The telescope is old, so a lot of the equipment is old, so it tends to break down a lot. And some of the parts are really hard to find. And that's one of the challenges they're facing in some of the cases there. We ended up having to move some screens around because, of course, I couldn't see half of them. They were really, really small. So we had to move some stuff around so that I could be accommodated very good with that. So we finished that night, and we did an attempt to go to the summit, and we left in the beautiful clear weather. It's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour to get to the visitor center. So that's one of the things that we were doing, is to try to get to the visitor center. And you have to stay at the visitor center and acclimatize for quite a bit of time. Usually they say half an hour, but for us, we stayed about 2 hours to the visitor center. So got to the visitor center, kind of, the idea was to go to the summit to drop off our equipment. We were going to run time-lapse photography and do a few shots before nightfall. And it's actually quite amazing when you're up there. I wasn't prepared for how incredible just being up there was. And it was difficult. For me, it was difficult. Breathing was a big challenge. You've got 40% less air up there. And I have panic disorder. So I wasn't actually from my perspective, the breathing part wasn't the issue. My body was hyperventilating. It wasn't so much that I wasn't getting enough air, is that my lungs were not expelling enough carbon dioxide. So I was having a rough time for a little bit there, trying to get my body acclimatized to it. The other thing that's interesting is that if you're there for too long, well, let's put it this way. One of the film crew guys that was doing some film crew, he asked one of the ladies, does being up here make you stupid? Because he said, I'm doing some crazy stuff. I agree totally, because we were trying to set things up. I had one camera I was going to set up, and I set up the camera, and one of the guys like, oh wait, Tim, you forgot your dew heater. I'm like, oh my God, how did I forget that? And I had put the wrong battery in the camera. Just doing things that were like just really strange. The other thing, of course, you got less air pressure, so your body is feeling like it's gonna expand. Like my hands were swollen. Your head doesn't feel right. So it's a bit of a challenge, I found. My eyes weren't affected as much as I thought they would be. I didn't have any issues. The funny thing was, actually, when I got back home, I went for my eye test like a week or two later after the experience, after I got home. And the doctor's like, the pressure in your eyes has never been this good. So what you're telling me, I have to go back to Montage? So that's the only thing I could figure that I did differently. We were almost to the top of the summit the first night, and all of a sudden we heard this kabang. And it was just this bang. We didn't know what it was. One of the guys said, oh no, the water bottle busted. and we couldn't stop. You're not allowed to stop on the road on your way up there. So when we got to the top, we figured out what it was. It was a chip bag that exploded. All the chips went everywhere. This was my little bag of chips, and that's how when I picked it up, I'm like, oh my God, this thing's gonna blow. If we would have left it, it would have exploded. So that first night, we were there till just about sunset. We were not allowed to stay for any length of time. Nobody stays there anymore. Those that had an opportunity to go, years ago from the center, we got really lucky because now they really pull everybody off the hill, off the volcano, because of the dust that the cars will kick up, causes a big problem. This is an unprocessed time lapse that I did. For some reason, the other one wouldn't run, but I left my camera up there overnight, and there's Venus and the Pleiades, and we've got Orion, and the stars. As we were leaving, you could see a few stars pop up, and it was just like they were not moving. They were so solid, like there was no turbulence at all. You can see some of the light pollution in the clouds because you're above the clouds. That's what's amazing about it there. It's just, I'd bring an air tank and a camp sack and a tent and just stay there overnight.
What's the elevation?
14,800 feet, so 480 meters, 4,800 meters, something like that. Coming back down was quite sketchy. And I'll show you some pictures going back up, but that's just like pretty much all that's guarding you. And the lights that you see in the left there, those are all the cars or the Jeeps going there. In order to get up there, you have to have a Jeep. They stop you at the visitor center on the way up. Make sure you got a tank of gas. There was a mistake done when the guys from our group went and picked up the equipment the next morning. When they came back down, one of them had not filled up. So he actually had to drive, once he got to the bottom of the mountain, he had to drive an hour to a gas station before he could get gas. So that's why they say you have to have a full tank. On your way down, when you get to the visitor center, they stop you and they check your brake temperature. You have to go in like a low gear and basically just gear down the whole way instead of using your brakes. I guess they must have had some incidents. So on the 16th, we decided to do the summit again, this time with a guide, and she was going to essentially give us a real tour of the facility. When we got to the visitor center, this is pretty much what we got. Rain. Down below, it was about 21, 22 degrees down at the base of the mountain. And when we got to the central part here, it was 7. But when at the top, it was -2. So, of course, we were sitting there waiting to see if this weather system was going to clear. And it didn't. Unfortunately, they closed the road because of ice. And we headed back home. Not home, but back to the place that we were staying at in Weymouth. And then, of course, the next day, this is the view I took with my cell phone from where we were staying in Weymouth, believe it or not. So you can see it's starting to clear up. It's looking good. And here's just a layout of the observatories and where you come up. So you can see where the kind of Francois telescope is there. And you basically have to go around many of the telescopes in order to get there. So when we got past the visitor center, we kind of ended up with this. And you can see it's kind of a speed lapse, but you can tell that there's some good drop-offs. I'm just glad I wasn't driving. I guess they were too, because getting there would have been pretty rough. Now, so we went from that point to this point at the visitor center, and you can see it was all cloudy down below, and we're only about halfway up here, a little bit more than halfway up, 9,000 feet, 9,800 feet. So that's the visitor center, and then the astronomers' bunks are over there at the top. It's a good place to look around. The visitor center, if you're asking me how I got this really cool shot, I put my 360 camera on a 3 meter long pole. And that's how we get these shots that look like we're using a drone. No drones allowed there at all. There's like 2 people in the world that are qualified to fly a drone up there. So finally, we made it up here to the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope for our tour. And you can tell a little bit of cloud still, but just absolutely amazing. So I was coming in, I get up and I come in and walk into the facility and starting to have a panic attack. So I was like, nope, this ain't happening now. So I sat down, and our guide, she was really incredibly, how would I say, incredibly knowledgeable about every single. She's done tours. She knows exactly what to do if there's any problems. For me, it wasn't a huge problem, but I had to sort of sit there and relax for a little bit. I think partly excitement and the whole bit. So they videotaped me as I came in into the area, and that's the telescope there with the weight, and the camera's at the top. So this is called the camera they use is called the Mega Cam. It's a mosaic camera that has 40 CCDs that have each one has a mosaic pattern of, or a resolution of 2000 by 4000 pixels. So the images are about 500 megapixels each. And of course, you can hear there's voice commands that come through, computer voice or a person that says telescope's moving, dome is moving, that sort of thing, so everybody can hear what's going on. It's about 3 stories high in total. Over in they have a control room there that is an identical match to the one in Weymouth. It's exactly the same. So all the computers and everything. So it's kind of like their backup. I mean, they have to have something that's there for them to fix problems when there's problems. Many other telescopes on that mountain. I couldn't name them all. I've been trying to memorize them, but CFHT was my baby. So we finished the filming, did a bunch of shots. Standing under that piece of equipment, to me, what I found just absolutely stunning is, what we've really accomplished in science. And this isn't even the biggest telescope in the world. This is not sort of mediocre telescope now. But still, it was fascinating, and we were lucky that night they were using the Mega Cam so that we could actually get color pictures. Now, a week or so later, a week after we got back, about 2 weeks when we got back, my data was available that I took with the telescope, and I just downloaded one of the files, uncompressed it, followed their procedures. There's a whole array of how to process these images that it's a totally different learning curve. I had the data scientist help me out a little bit, but it's actually still a work in progress. In fact, I'm going to be mixing their data with some of my data that I took with my telescope to do the final image. But the first time I loaded the image up with my Mac Mini from 2012, it looked like this. It crashed. I've never seen a Mac crash that bad. It overwrote the video memory. It just completely blew it down. So I was like, okay, I have to use my PC for this, I guess. So pulled out the big guns that I have, the PC, and that's what I loaded up. And I'm like, not really that impressive. But thinking about it, the size of that image is about a gigabyte. And when I started playing with it, I started getting a little bit better with, so each one of these each one of these squares is 4,000 high by 2,000 wide. So that's why my computer crashed. And there's 40 of them. So this is M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy, which is my favorite. And zooming in just a little bit on, this is just one of the frames. You can see the incredible amount of detail. Anybody want to guess what this exposure time on that image is? Take a guess. Try again, one more time.
30 minutes.
About 30 seconds. Yeah, about 30 seconds. It sure blows away the most of the telescopes we have, I'll tell you that. Especially when you have a 3.6 meter mirror to play with. So I'm actually still processing the images, as I mentioned, to try to get things, get a really good image, because there's a lot of stuff that has to happen. Each one of these little panels has to be, the astrometric data has to be computed really, really accurately. There's a whole software crew that, and there's several, but one of the programs they use, it's not one single program, but the project is called the Elixir project. And it's essentially to process these images, for those of you that know anything about the photography, it's, processing the images a little bit so that you remove the flats, the darks, the bias frames, the hot pixels, the dead pixels. As you can see a couple of lines going through this, some of those are dead pixels. And there's a way to compute those. So we took a few images, so we kind of moved the telescope a little bit. We got a little bit of a dithering effect to get rid of some of those artifacts. So once we work on it, I think one of the coolest things though, my data, I forgot the link to the data that I was looking for, because it's my data for a year, and then it becomes public data. Everybody can go and download it. But when I went to the site for the Canada database that they have, you can search for either my name or the program name, and it will actually give you the details of that image. And eventually you'll be able to download the raw data. So a lot of that stuff's public. And actually, the first time they had in the FITS file, it actually says Dr. Tim Doucette. So I guess I'm a doctor now. So we finished off the filming, and Amanda and I said bye to the film crew. We gave them a boot and said thank you very much. We had so much fun with them. We really wanted them to stay longer. Actually, we said, you guys should stay, and they had other commitments with other things. So Amanda and I stayed in Weymouth on the end here. We had a beautiful spot. We got sunsets every night, and we did a couple of things that we would never normally do. Parasailing being one of them. And I wanted to do it, but Amanda was afraid of heights. And then one night, she's sitting there and she says, we see the parasailers go by, and she's like, yeah, we should do that. She had a couple of beers, right? And I said, yeah, let's do that. I was actually on my phone already dialing it in, and we were there the next day. Totally awesome experience. So I got a video that I posted online. We visited the Black Sand Beach. And I think one of the most coolest experiences that we did there was swimming with the manta rays at night. If you love snorkeling and stuff, oh man, it was just absolutely amazing creatures. You're actually in the water with your feet floating with these floaters, and then you're basically looking down into the ground, looking down into the water, and these are plankton. So what happens is the lights shine and attract the plankton, and the manta rays come up and scoop them up. That's what they eat. You have to be careful, because you don't want to touch the manta rays at all, because their skin has a membrane on them that is essentially their immune system. And if you touch them, you can damage them, and they could die. We visited the other side of Big Island in Hawaii, and it's towards the town of Hilo, and of course, very, very vegetation, a lot of rain. that island is incredible. It has 11 different climate zones. I think it makes its own climate. We visited Volcanoes National Park. Didn't get to see any lava. It was like on a red alert type of thing, but we missed it by about a month. I think it was in June, it erupted again, and they had a little bit of lava flowing everywhere. We had a chance to go in lava tubes and explore, do some fun stuff like that. That was quite an experience too. It's amazing that they have these types of things. And this is literally caused by lava flowing underground, and eventually, solidifying. It was a lot of fun. So that's my trip. Thank you very much for listening.
Any questions for Tim?
Yeah, any questions?
When are you going next?
It's on my list, trust me. Yeah. One of the ladies was saying, we were saying we'd love to go back, and one of the ladies we were talking to in Hawaii, she says, yeah, just don't eat out and you can come again next year.
How long was your exposure time on the telescope?
In total?
Yeah, did you get more than one photo or?
Yeah, I got a few. I got two sets of photos. One was dithered a little bit. It's about 5 minutes, I think, in total, because there's other stuff that had to happen. Yeah.
How long before you get that image cleared away?
I'm working on it. I actually contacted the data scientist again. He was really busy, but there were some issues apparently this summer with volcanoes and such. So not for that particular one, because that's an extinct volcano. But I'm trying my best. I was so busy this summer, I didn't have a chance to do it, and I wanted to do it right.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Tim,
Yeah.
sorry, I missed the end of your talk. I thought you had a long ways to go, but I had to.
Oh, yeah.
But I got to go on the top of Mauna Kea.
Yeah. I remember you telling me
It
that.
was a while ago, but
Yeah.
I had very similar experience to you about feeling stupid.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know, you didn't mention it, but your sensation of time changes. And, at some point I realized I needed to get film from my bag in the car, and I was taking a picture of that shadow, right?
Yeah.
And I walked back and I got the film and I put it in the camera and came back to take the picture. I thought I'd been on a couple of minutes, and my wife said, "Where have you been? What took you so long?" I said, "I just went to the car and back." But somehow, my subjective impression of time is totally different. I don't know. Did you experience that?
I did, and the way I experienced it was time to go.
Yeah.
And I thought we were there for about an hour, and we were there for like 3.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like, what? Like, I know when you're having fun, but this was out of proportion.
I think that's similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's definitely a
amazing
magical
experience to
place.
stand on a mountain and watch the shadow, and another story, if I might. On the way up, there was a guy in the same van as me. I didn't drive a car up. I joined a tour group that did all the driving, which is a really good idea.
Yeah.
And this guy discovered that he had no film. I forgot the film. And he's asking people, "Do you have any film? Do you have any film?" And I said, "Well, geez, I have this roll of film in my bag that I've had. It's like 4 years expired, but and he wanted to buy it from me." And I said, "No, here's the film. If any of the pictures turn out, you can send me copies." And he did. So there were a lot of exposures were bad because the film was old, but he did get some pictures, and he ended up sending me the duplicates, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a fun experience too.
Yeah.
I could have asked him for anything at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're past the visitor center.
Yeah.
I could have said, "Okay, that $20 and it's yours," or whatever.
Oh, for sure. And I understand. It's
Yeah.
it's very awesome. Yeah. Mary Beth was the one that brought us up and was guiding us. giving us all the directions and trying to, she was very accommodating. She was the director of outreach. I don't know if she was the director. She probably wouldn't have been the director when you went, but
Man, I can't even remember what year that was.
yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
It's like 2005, 3, somewhere around there. 2003 maybe.
Yeah.
So that's what, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be her.
Oh,
No.
she might not have been born.
Yeah. Right on.
No, Tim, that's really awesome that you had this opportunity, and through RASC here, I've been sort of involved with a few of the steps of your journey. It's been an amazing journey to watch. I can't imagine what it's been like to be part of it, but to watch your success, and that has just been wonderful.
Thank you. It's been a bit overwhelming at times, but we keep going. Right on. Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. That was great. So I think we'll have our 15-minute social break now, and then we'll finish up with what's up and the news from the board. We'll move on to what's up in November skies. So next one, please, Jerry. Okay, the sun this month. A reminder, we go to standard time tomorrow. So fall back in the fall, right? Everyone's noticed, I'm sure, that the days are getting quite a bit shorter. It's dark by about 7:30. Good, and still dark by 6 or so in the morning. Move on to the next one. This is what the sun looks like today. The sun was pretty quiet. There were a couple small sunspots last week, but we've got a few more larger ones appearing. And yesterday there was a pretty nice coronal mass ejection shown here from the Helios satellite. And the prediction is that there might be a G2 geomagnetic storm in the next day or two. So it'll depend on whether there were two previous CMEs, so it'll depend on whether they kind of join together and turn into what they call Frankenstein CMEs, and if that happens, we'll end up with Northern Lights.
There was something on space weather about the fact they think that the peak is going to collide next year.
Yeah, the solar peak was predicted to be 2025, but it looks like it might be earlier, next year, end of next year.
Was there any? I kind of read the article. Is there some reason for that, or?
I think because the increase in sunspots has been greater than predicted, so I suspect they're just based on the current trend when it's going to meet the predicted maximum. But that could be wrong. I mean, no one knows for sure. Next one, please. The moon this month. So we're currently last quarter of animal fattening moon. So if you're up early, there's a nice moon to see in the sky, morning sky. November 6th, we have the South Taurid meteor shower peaking, and on the 9th, there's a conjunction of the moon and Venus. New moon's on the 13th. The river's freezing over moon, and we have then 2 meteor showers. If the skies are good, that's good. No moonlight. Go look for the Northern Taurids and the Leonids. And then the first quarter moon on the 20th. The moon is near Saturn on the 20th and near Jupiter on the 24th and 25th. And then near the Pleiades on the 26th, and the full moon at the end of the month on the 27th. So pretty busy. This is if you get up early, 5:30, and this is a challenge because it means you get up early. November 9th, if you get your binoculars out, you'll see a thin crescent moon and Venus very close together in the same field of view. This is with 15 by 70 binoculars.
Does that show the phase of Venus?
I think
Should be the opposite direction too.
It'll be about half.
Yeah, Venus is going into gibbous, waxing gibbous phase. It will, if those binoculars, if you have 15x70s on a tripod, you can probably be able to make it out, but they're kind of heavy to hold steady enough. Excellent. And then on the 26th, another nice binocular view of the moon and the Seven Sisters, the Tweedies.
You did one of those, didn't you? Recently?
I did one of those last month.
Yeah.
That one you can see it in the evening, so you don't have to set your alarm early. As usual, these are the lunar features, which you want to try to observe for Explore the Universe program. Best time is around first quarter, so November 18th to 22nd. Next, please. The planets. Mercury is currently not visible, but by the middle of November, just after sunset, you'll be able to see Mercury low in the southwest. And Venus, as everyone knows, it's gets up even after sunrise. It's very prominent in the sky. And I already mentioned the conjunction of the Bellini crescent moon on the 9th. Mars is still too close to the sun to be visible. Jupiter and Saturn are the evening stars, or in terms of good targets to look for. Jupiter rises just after sunset, and opposition was the 3rd, so last night. So we had clear skies. It was a good time to image Jupiter. Near the waxing gibbous moon on the 25th, Saturn is already well above the eastern horizon by the time the sun sets. Not as bright as Jupiter, but still pretty easy to find. And close to the first quarter moon on the 20th. Uranus is visible for most of the night. Look at the boundary between Aries and Taurus. And opposition for Uranus is on the 13th. And Neptune is also visible for most of the night. Look for it in Pisces. Okay, autumn constellations. Went through this last time, and the next meeting we'll be switching to the winter constellations. But as part of Explore the Universe, trying to identify Pegasus, Andromeda, Cassiopeia, Perseus, and Aries. Please. And the autumn stars. The bright one here is Myrfak, which is in Perseus. The stars labeled with N are stars you should know if you are using a SynScan hand controller to align your telescope. So please. So autumn deep sky objects. Messier 31, the Andromeda Galaxy, is well placed for evening viewing. Also look for the double cluster and Mela 20. Andromeda, you get 3 for the price of 1, because you also see the satellite galaxies M110 and M32. Double stars for Explore the Universe. One I picked out this time is Beta 1 and Beta 2 Capricorni. This is a binocular double star. It's actually 5 stars, but you won't be able to resolve them with binoculars or even a telescope. Beta 1 is an orange giant, and Beta 2 is a white giant. So it should be a nice contrast of colors looking at those stars. While you're there, if you're using binoculars, go up a bit and you'll be able to see Messier 2, which is a nice globular cluster. Algol, the demon star, the ghoul star. It's a variable star in Perseus, and if the skies are good, this is your chance to see it go through its cycle from maximum to minimum to maximum, all in the space of 6 hours, 7 hours. And this is a challenge. Comet Hans Brooks. It is currently in Hercules, so it's almost, well, nearly overhead after sunset. It's currently shining at a magnitude of about 12, but it's notable because of its cryovolcanic activity. So in the summer, there was a cryovolcanic outburst. This is Jerry took a picture of it, and I took this picture. People refer to it as the Horned Comet or the Millennium Falcon Comet, the Enterprise Comet. You know, name your science fiction spaceship, right?
It was a second outburst.
There was a second outburst just recently. There was another one recently.
Why it had the same appearance?
No, the appearance is not like this anymore. It's just brighter. I saw a picture taken after the last outburst, which was a couple days ago, and it's just got a much bigger coma. It doesn't look like that anymore, but it's still worth looking for. And if it survives its entry into the inner solar system, it could become visible to the unaided eye in April 2024. They're predicting a magnitude of about between 4 and 5. So might be a good one. Comets, though, you never know. Right? There's no guarantee with a comet. Okay, and that's it. Any questions? All right. No questions, then we'll move on to
Any
Pat.
questions?
Any questions, Zoom?
Zoom questions?
Zoom questions? Nope. Okay, so we'll move on to Pat Kelly giving news from the board.
And share and start. Okay, so this is going to be a fairly brief report. Not that we haven't been doing a lot, but the things that are sort of worth reporting on are sort of fewer, without boring people completely to death. So in terms of what we've been doing in terms of governance, we've basically looked at a couple of policy updates. So we've added a donated equipment policy, basically to let the board decide what equipment, if people want to donate equipment to the center, whether we can now politely say thanks, but that doesn't quite meet what we're looking for. And we also have a stipulation in there that the donated equipment, if the needs and the goals of the center change, we're not necessarily going to hold on to all donated equipment in perpetuity. So we may either re-gift it to give it to another group that's interested in it, or liquidate it, or do something along those lines. And thanks to Mary Lou Whitehorn, who basically was the main person in writing up the policy for that. The other main thing that we've done in terms of policies is we now have a new members welcome package. It turns out that the National Society does send out a welcome package to new members welcoming to the National Society, but they no longer send out a welcoming package from the individual centers. So thanks to Tony McGraw for this one. He put together a whole list of resources for Halifax Center members. And now that we've figured out from the Driven database how to actually find who the new members are, we'll be emailing them, I believe, a PDF copy of this welcome pack to let them know sort of how the center works, the main parts of the website they might find of interest, and so on. So those are sort of the two main things that we've been up to from a governance point of view. In terms of upcoming deadlines, the only real one is the astrophotography contest. The deadline for that is November 11th. There's 3 categories in which you can actually submit pictures. And I thought of putting in the actual URL to the link for the actual contest on our website, but it was really long. So you can either simply go to the Halifax Center website and find it from there, or I tried this. If you just simply Google Halifax Center Astrophotography Contest, the very first hit will take you right to the rules and the guidelines for how to submit your images. So if you do plan on submitting them, make sure they're in by November the 11th, so that we can have enough time to go through the adjudication process and to do the judging and so on. The last thing are upcoming events. There's not that many of them. We have one more members meeting before the year is over, and that is on December the 2nd. It's the AGM plus we're still looking for nominations. Officially, the nominations deadline closed 2 days ago, because according to our bylaws, the nominations have to be received 30 days before the AGM. Fortunately, though, there's a loophole in there, and that is that you can actually, nominations get reopened again at the actual AGM. So if you're interested in joining the board, either as a director or one of the, I guess, executive positions, you should get a hold of somebody who's on the actual committee. That would be myself, Peter Hurley, Chris Young, and I think Judy Black. I think I'm missing one person. Or just get hold of anybody who's on the board. They will make sure your message gets through to the right people that need to know. We do have dates for the first half of 2024. The reason they're in italics is because we've asked St. Mary's for those dates, and we haven't actually gotten them confirmed yet. So most likely they will all be okay. The nice thing about this year round is that we don't have to stick handle any of those around long weekends. So Easter's not going to be a problem. And the other holiday that tends to move around, the Nova Scotia Heritage Day or whatever it's currently called, we're clear of all the holidays. So it will be the first Saturday of every month for the next 6 months. We've already got some speakers lined up for at least 3 of them, because I know I'm doing the talk in January on basically spacecrafts and water, I think, as sort of the main theme for that. And we've also got 2 speakers from St. Mary's confirmed for the upcoming year as well. So the program is looking to be in reasonably good shape. And that should be it for this report.
Okay, well, thanks, Pat. So that brings us to the end of today's meeting. Thanks, everyone, for attending, those in person and those via Zoom. Just a reminder, make sure you come to the AGM. It's important that people attend, and we have a very interesting talk scheduled for the members meeting afterwards. John Badowski is going to talk about Percival Lowell and the Canals of Mars. Should be very good. Okay, have a good rest of the month, guys. Oh, Dave.
A point of order, I guess. Do you have to be present physically to vote?
No.
Or can people vote remotely?
So,
and if so, or is there somebody going to be keeping track of who's a member and who's?
Good question.
Anyway, food for
Yeah,
thought.
yeah. We'll put it on the agenda for the next board meeting.
Not that we ever have an election.
Yeah, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Yes. Okay, everyone. See you in a month's time.